It's the 7 o'clock news, and I am here, Ashley at Bookishrealm, reporting on the latest events in the world of book banning. All right, let me stop. But for real. So let's talk a little bit about this title. Hello, hi, how is everyone doing? Welcome to my channel. If you've never been here, welcome back. If you are a frequent flyer, appreciate you, the love, support, the positive energy and vibes. Today we are here to talk a little bit about a monumental thing that is happening in the state of Florida. If y'all did not know, like the artist Florida is Florida because of Florida, you know. Okay, I'm done. So as always, I occasionally peruse Publishers Weekly because Publisher Weekly, they give out news, information of what is happening in the publishing world, what's happening in the book world. It's a good way for me to stay updated on a lot of things. Reviews come out and all types of good jazz. So what do you know, I fancy myself going on Publishers Weekly, and one of the top articles of this week is the fact that good old Florida is getting sued. We love to see it. We love to see it. I could not be more ecstatic about the fact that Florida is getting sued right now. So what's interesting though is the nature of this lawsuit. So we know that something similar like this has happened in Texas, where there was a community who pushed back against book banning and book challenging and actually got the case to be reviewed before a federal judge. And he ruled in their favor, saying that the book banning and challenging was a violation of the First Amendment. So the same thing is happening in Florida, except in this situation, what's monumental about it is that not only do we have PEN America suing this county in Florida, but we also have Penguin Random House and a group of authors. So they've all banded together and have basically given their middle fingers to the state of Florida, this specific county, and have said, guess what? Screw you. This is a violation of not only the First Amendment, but also the 14th Amendment, and we're about done with it. So I was not aware. Florida just in general has been kind of a cesspool for book banning and book challenging, as we all know. If you have visited PEN America's site, which if you haven't, I'll be sure to link it down in the description box below. PEN America has been keeping really detailed tracking information about book banning and book challenging that has been happening specifically in schools. And so they have had this document. I don't know how frequently the document is updated, or if the document that I've been looking at has been looking at 2023, but I do know that they were adamantly like keeping track of titles, districts, the state of the ban or the challenge, like everything, who made the ban or who did the challenge and how it ended up being. Like, they were just keeping very detailed notes, and they still do. And they have even their own list of the most challenged and banned books that have been happening in school districts, because you're going to see a little bit of variation between school districts and like a school library and a public library or an academic library. So there's great variation there, and I'm glad that they're keeping kind of their own separate documentation, which I'm finding to be very interesting. But it's just fascinating to me that we have now these two big organizations. We have a publishing house, one of the biggest publishing houses, teaming up with PEN America, as well as a group of authors, to say we have had enough. Now, the way that this happened is that this specific school district, it's detailed in the article, and I will leave the article to this whole entire situation down below in the description box. So what they did together, the three entities, because I'm in publishing, authors, and I'll tell you who's involved author-wise, Penguin Random House, his group of authors, in PEN America, they filed a complaint, and I believe it's like a 50+ page document detailing how they feel like it's unconstitutional that these challenges have been happening in this specific school district. And I'm looking at the school district because I know that if I didn't, I would look at it wrong. County, I keep saying school district, but it's county. It's Escambia County. They feel as though they are specifically targeting books written by BIPOC individuals and LGBTQ individuals, and they've provided data to show how the challenges have skewed towards those specific groups, and that it is actually discriminatory, which we all know that it is, but they are using data that they have collected to prove that it is. What is so interesting about this specific case in this county is that PEN America, Penguin Random House, and these authors we're able to single down to one teacher who actually started this entire thing. And the teacher's name is Vicky. Let me make sure I get her name right. It's Vicky Baggett. And she kicked off what would be considered a successful and widespread kind of epidemic of challenging and banning books in this county. And it started with her wanting to challenge Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is fascinating, which is something that I always talk about. What she did, the phenomena that's happening, is exactly what I keep trying to bring up on my channel and keep trying to have discussions with people, is that it wasn't so much that she even knew anything about the book prior. She had become aware of the book because of far right groups like Booklooks, which provides extremely specific details, line by line, paragraph by paragraph, of books that should be challenged and banned, and provides you the resources to do so. When you think Booklooks, actually Booklooks, I believe, was founded by a person that was a part of Moms for Liberty. If you don't know anything about Moms for Liberty, like, y'all, they've been a hot mess for years, but it's just getting progressively worse, and they are a group that is attempting to infiltrate school boards in any way that they can to control and direct what kids should and should not have access to. Well, Booklooks is an offshoot of sorts of that, because you had a member from Moms for Liberty create that, and it provides reviews. I use that word very, very lightly, because they're not reviews. They're just ways to provide easier access for people to ban or to challenge and hopefully get books banned. So this one teacher, Vicky, Vicky had not even read the book. Vicky said, allegedly, that she attempted to fill out the formal complaint for challenging this book because of efforts to challenge this book across the nation. So not only are you an educator, which is why I always say all educators and librarians are not pro, like, let kids read what they should read. Like, let kids read what they want to read and stop trying to censor information. All of us are not on the same page, and I think people sometimes get misconstrued and have this idea that all teachers and librarians are kind of functioning on the same scale here. We're not. We know very well that there are people amongst us who are against book challenging and banning, and there are those amongst us who are very pro and feel like the materials that are being published are pornographic and are unacceptable for kids to have access to. Well, here we go. A teacher who and is an English teacher, if I'm not mistaken, didn't read the book, only challenged the book because of the fact that it had gotten nationwide attention for being challenged. So that's why she challenged it, filled out a formal challenge complaint, lost against a challenge complaint within, I believe, the school, and then decided, well, screw you, I'm just going to go to the top, to the district. Sent out an email copying Satan on the email, and so now we have this widespread issue. And most of the books being targeted, and the language that she apparently has used has proven that it is very much so anti-LGBT, racist. I mean, it's just not surprising. But the group that you just don't want to, like, mess with when it comes to book banning and challenging, like, I would say, like, American Library Association. But y'all, PEN America is not a group. The way that they are very meticulous about their data collection and how they've been watching book banning and challenging, it's so meticulous. It's like, that's not the group that I kind of would come to blows with over stuff like this, because if they coming at you, you know that they have crossed their T's and they have dotted their I's. So what they're hoping, and this is unprecedented because of the fact that you have Penguin Random House attached to it. That's a huge deal for a publisher to say, we're attaching our name to this lawsuit. We are down to be a part of this lawsuit. That is a huge deal, and not anything that we have seen as of yet, since book banning and challenging has upticked in 2020. Is, of course, I was expecting it from the results that we were seeing in 2021 because of 2020. It was no surprise that with the pandemic, the murder of George Floyd, all of the divisiveness was eventually going to lead to this, but it's only gotten worse. It's frustrating. It's only gotten worse. But you have a publisher who, since this has started, This is the first time a publisher has stepped up and said, we will attach your name to a lawsuit. We are okay being a part of the lawsuit. And then we have a series of authors who are also a part of this lawsuit. And the authors on this lawsuit include, let me make sure I have everybody's names because I don't want to mess up anybody's names. It's Sarah Brennan, David Levithan, George M. Johnson, Ashley Hope Perez, and Kyle Lukoff, which is not surprising because all of them have dealt with foolishness. So I'm not surprised to see the names attached. I'm very happy to see those names attached because especially like David Levithan has been banned and challenged for years. He's essentially like, he knows what the game is when it comes to book banning and book challenging. And George M. Johnson was specifically targeted within the past couple of years. Their work has just been ripped to shreds by so many school districts, so many public libraries. It's just unfortunate. And I know that Ashley Hope Perez's book, Out of Darkness, has been on like the top banned list for ALA for a very, very long time. That book has always been challenged and banned. So you have some veterans on here that have dealt with this information or have dealt with these circumstances for a long time outside of the uptick of challenging and banning that we have seen in the recent years. I don't often do this, but I do actually want to read part of the complaint that is in the article because I want y'all to see kind of what perspective they're taking and how they're looking at all of the data that they've collected and their stand that they're taking against this county. So it says, in every decision to remove a book, the school district has sided with the challenger, expressing openly discriminatory basis for challenge, overruling the recommendations of review committees at the school and district levels. So that's a huge issue. When you have school and district levels giving you recommendations, it's a problem when they are intentionally siding with a challenger. Because if you have a review committee, what you're saying is, I've got a team of experts. Now, this is not always the case, which is why when I tell people, like, when they say review committee, you always have to kind of question, like, who's actually sitting on this review committee and who's making these choices and these decisions. But the fact that you have gotten a group of experts that are doing the reviewing at the school and district level, and then you're ultimately saying that we don't care what the review committee says, we're just going to side with the challenger. That's an issue of process and of due process within how we function as libraries when it comes to challenges. There is a process that everyone follows. It may vary from place to place, but there is a process, protocol, procedures in place. And so when a review committee is established, and most people have review committees, when you're actively going against the review committee because you're like, well, screw what you say anyway, we're going to side with the challenger, it's a no-win situation, because no matter what you may say, no matter what evidence you may come up with, you're already it's a losing fight. You're already destined to lose. And so that was their first part of it. And they say, these restrictions and removals have disproportionately targeted books by or about people of color and or LGBT people, and have prescribed an orthodoxy of opinion that violates the First and 14th Amendments. Today, Escambia County seeks to bar books critics view as too woke, which once again, here we are using a word that has been co-opted by a political movement to essentially code. It's coding. It's coding for not wanting kids to be open to diverse experiences. It is being used as a coded slang, or coded, not coded slang. It's being used as a coded slur, which is so because woke was established in the 1930s. This is not a new phenomenon. Woke is not a new word. This is not something that all of a sudden that the far right has come up with to describe the left. Woke had nothing to do with no shade. No, I'm gonna lie. All shade, all tea. Woke had nothing to do with non-black people. It had nothing to do with it was for by black people, for black people, FUBU, for us, by us. And yet here we are, where people have co-opted a part of our culture to use it as a slur, a coded slur, to determine that things or books are too LGBT focused. They focus too much on race. They don't want people to know the truth about anything. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my high horse about how I feel about people using the word woke, because it's disgusting every time I say it. I don't care who uses it. I have asked people who I know for a fact are very liberal, stop using woke. Don't use woke. I don't even want to hear you use it as a joke, because it just gets my blood boiling, because most people don't know the history behind the word woke, and it's frustrating. It's so... Anyway, okay, moving on before I get into whatever. In the 1970s, schools sought to bar Slaughterhouse-Five and books edited by Langston Hughes. Tomorrow, it could be books about Christianity, the country's founders, or war heroes. All of these removals run afoul of the First Amendment, which is rightly disinterested in the cause du jour, the cause of the day. So basically what they're saying, and I know people are going to be like, what do they mean, like, it could be books about Christianity? What they're essentially saying in that sentence is that regardless of how you feel about something, you can't restrict and shouldn't restrict access to it. So for example, I work in a public library. If somebody comes in and they're like, I want to read Mein Kampf because I'm pro whatever, I fundamentally disagree with that. Not the idea of reading the book, but if someone comes in and they may share those same beliefs, I cannot, as long as it does not become an exchange between me and them and it's not discriminatory or racist or anything, if they ask for the material, I have to provide it regardless of how I feel about it. Somebody could want to read, what's her face's book, Candace Owens's book, Blackout. I don't like Candace Owens. Everybody knows that if I ever meet her, somebody needs to have bail money ready, because it's finna go down whenever I see that girl, because she's just... Every black person is not kinfolk, skinfolk. That's it. That's about as far as it gets with her. I don't like her at all. But if someone comes in and asks for her book, I cannot restrict that access. So what they're saying in that sentence is that it doesn't matter where we feel we are politically, emotionally, our thoughts, ideals within that moment of the day. You can't restrict someone's access to any materials, because when you start doing that, it's a slippery slope. So today it could be these books, and the next day it will be these things, and you will continue to run amok until all of a sudden nobody has access to anything, which we think, oh my gosh, like, Fahrenheit 154, we think stuff like that. It almost feels like a reality in some sense, because that is exactly how situations like that start to happen. You start small, and it's not really small, but you feel like you're starting with a small thing, even though it's not small to a lot of us, because that's the identity of a lot of us. But in their mind, it's just like, oh, we're just doing these one things. Well, who's to say that somebody else, 5 years from now may say like, oh, this is an issue now. And then all of a sudden you create this cycle of banning and challenging and getting rid of things just because of what you feel like is necessary for this specific moment in time. We're in the midst of a culture war. We may not be in the same culture war 10 years from now. So you have to have that mindset that restricting or challenging or banning anybody's access to any information is inherently wrong. It is a violation of our rights. It is a violation of the First Amendment right, and it is a violation of the 14th Amendment. So you have to take all of that stuff into consideration, and that's essentially what they were saying with that sentence, which is, for me, when I read this article, was a sentence that really just rang very, very true with me. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Regardless, it doesn't matter what it is. It's BIPOC and LGBT stories today, 5 years from now, and it could be anything. And so you don't want to start down this slippery slope. You really don't, because of what the culture war is in 2023. So listen, it is the first of its kind of challenge in any type of unlawful censorship. It is the first because of the nature of who is, you have Penguin Random House, Pen America authors versus this county in Florida. Never happened before. And so they're hoping, like I am so hoping that this is a win for us who are against or opposed to challenging and banning, because listen, it just, at some point, like, this has got to stop, man. Like, this has got to stop. Like, y'all have got to stop. you've got to stop. Like, you need to dictate and control what your children are reading. That's perfectly fine. No one is saying that you can't be a parent. No one is saying that you can't have your beliefs. I don't agree with your beliefs, and I think it's very bigoted, and I think it's very discriminatory, but I cannot tell you how to feel and how to believe. I cannot dictate that for, I can tell you that it's wrong and that I don't agree with it and that I think it's discriminatory and I think it's bigoted and I think it's just essentially racist and homophobic and transphobic. But you have your thoughts and your feelings. You can dictate what your child learns, what they read, what morals and ethics they grow up with, because I don't want anybody telling me how to raise my child. Okay? Like, nobody. That's fine. But what you will not do is dictate what should and should not be taught to my child. Like, that's strange to me. Private schools exist for a reason. And I'm just going to say that. They do. Private schools exist for a reason. You don't get to come into a public forum and say that no child would learn this because you don't want your child to learn it. Take them out of school and homeschool or put them in a private school. You need to be the parent at that point. You need to be aware of what is going on when your child has access to this, or don't you create an environment where your child feels comfortable coming to you and asking you questions. And you can express what you think is appropriate and inappropriate in your household, but don't dictate what anybody else should do. That makes absolutely no sense, child. In what world does this make sense? You want to tell people how they should raise their children, but you don't want to help raise your children. God forbid someone asks for government assistance, because I bring this up every single time. Y'all hate that. I am not paying for anybody else. You decided to have your child. I'm not paying for your child. But you want to tell my child what to read and what not to read? That's weird. Priorities are mixed up. You don't even keep kids safe at this point. I should be stress-free sending my kid to daycare every day. But no, every single day I think about the fact, like, damn, I have to send my child to school, and I pray to God that nothing happens to her today. I pray to God that I don't get that call or no news article pops up. I go to work every day and think, like, damn, I hope that nobody comes in here and just lets loose today. But we're worried about books. That's what we're concerned about. Books. But we can't even keep our children safe. School is supposed to be a sanctuary. Churches are supposed to be a sanctuary. Yet you're worried about a damn book with somebody talking about their experience. Don't fucking read it. How about that? How about that? Anyway, I digress. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment box down below. If you're looking for ways to follow me on social media, support this channel via Patreon or anything like that, all those links will be down in the description box below. As always, if y'all like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notification. And I'll be back with another video soon. Deuces.